record these meetings, and just a few housekeeping details. This is Parks and Recreation, as you know, committee of Brooklyn Community Board 2. We're calling the meeting to order. It's being recorded, so please keep that in mind. And we invite attendees to keep their cameras on, and we really ask committee members to please keep your cameras on. At the same time, it's always helpful if everyone mutes themselves unless they're speaking. So if you do start to speak, try to remember to unmute yourself. I think people tend to forget that. If you are not on the committee usually asks questions first, and you have some questions, and if we don't get to them, please put them in the chat and we will try to get to them or have someone get back to you with the answers. We are committed to providing access for all of our neighbors, regardless of physical ability or limitation. If you or someone you know requires accommodation or assistance for full participation in this proceeding, please in the future contact the district office at least 72 hours before the public meeting. I'm now going to just, I'm going to start. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm Barbara Zoller-Gringer. I'm one of the co-chairs of the committee. My co-chair is going to identify himself next. Unmute yourself. Okay. Okay. And our secretary for this evening.
Hi, I'm Candace Harrison.
Thank you again, Candace. Carolyn, do you want to say hello? You need to unmute.
Hello, this is Carol Hubbard Kamen-Unweary, board member and committee member.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer? All right, we'll come back to you. Dwight, I see you've joined us. Do you want to say hello? Okay, I saw him a minute ago.
Dwight, you're muted.
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes. Good to see you.
Good to you.
Okay, Suzanne?
Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne Quinn, board member and committee member.
Okay, we'll try Jennifer again. Oh, there you are. If you unmute. You have to unmute, Jennifer. Oh, well, towards the bottom of your screen, it should pop up the mute button and stop video.
There you go. We should be able to hear you now, Ms. Melby. Oh dear. So you are unmuted, but we can't hear you. But we see you.
Okay. So that's another one of our members, Jennifer Melby. And I think Lenny is supposed to be on this call, but I don't see him. So at this point, we're going to move along with the agenda. I thank the committee members for being here, and I will let you know that our committee member Quinn Carruthers is moving outside the district, so he will no longer be on the committee. But he came back. He went off the committee before, so maybe he'll come back again. And then can I just have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second? All right, Suzanne, thank you. I think we will move. What I'd like to do is move number 4, the approval of the minutes. Well, let's go to all right. Should we take a vote then? Is there anyone who objects to the agenda? Here we go. All right. Assuming there are no objections, then would everyone raise their hand to approve it? Either virtually or, okay. All right. Well, thank you. We'll move ahead with the agenda. We have the minutes. You received them from our June 15th meeting. Does anybody have any changes to the minutes? Candace?
Most of my edits were just for clarification purposes.
Okay.
Like on page 1, bullet point number 3, Davy Ives, his name is spelled out his first name and last name, but then on page 2, in item number 9 and 10, he's referred to as Mr. Davy in number 9 and then Mr. Ives in number 10.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so just for, I guess, cohesion and clarification, it should just be maybe one or the other.
Yeah, no, it's obviously it'd be Mr. Ives.
Yeah.
Right, it should be. Thank you for that.
Sure. And then in bullet point number 8, in the next to last sentence, it says Mr. Ives answered that the Parks Department and staff are being flexible in how they address. I don't know if that was an incomplete sentence or just a full
Okay.
thought.
All right. We'll follow up on that. Maybe it should be something like in how they address these issues.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
all that I had.
All right. Well, thank you. And I want to thank Suzanne for taking these minutes. Taya for putting them in great form. So I'm assuming we have consensus then on the minutes. So I want to move ahead then to our first presentation, which you have got to see this exhibit. Let me just say that. This is Photoville. I'm sure most people on our committee are familiar with Photoville. It's a New York-based nonprofit that works to promote a wider understanding and increased access to the art of photography for all. And right now they have an exhibit that is just tailor-made for the times we're living in. It's outdoors. You can walk around, avoid any people you might see. And it's really breathtaking. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Laura Roumanos, who's the co-founder and executive director, is it, of Photoville, and Elizabeth Masella, who is the senior public art coordinator for New York City Parks. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. So I'm Elizabeth Masella. I'm the Senior Public Art Coordinator at Parks. I am here to introduce Laura really, because she'll give you all the good details and photos of the exhibition. But as you're probably all familiar with Photoville, which has traditionally taken place in Brooklyn Bridge Park every year over a couple of weeks. This year, we're kind of taking it to all 5 boroughs. I think we have 9 park sites throughout the city. In Brooklyn, there's Anchorage Plaza, which is kind of surrounding the Brooklyn. Is it the Brooklyn Bridge, Anchorage, or is it Manhattan Bridge?
It's the Brooklyn, and it's the BQE Brooklyn Bridge.
Right. Okay. On Fulton Street and on Washington Street, we've done a number of banner exhibitions on Washington Street in the past. This is the first time we've done it on Fulton Street as well. And you'll also find the exhibition in Brooklyn Bridge Park. It is going to, we installed most of them except for a couple of park sites in Manhattan last week. It'll be on view till the end of November. We've been kind of working really hard this summer to put this together. And we're just happy to share some more information and background on it. So I'll turn it over to Laura to speak more in depth and share some images with you all.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. NYC Parks has been so amazing to us this year, and thank you all for having me. I'm going to share my screen. So one moment, I should have done that while you were talking. So can you all see that? Photoville, yes? So I can't see any of you now. So we are Photoville. I'm the founder. I've actually been in the Dumbo area. I actually moved to the US 15 years ago and started working at St. Anne's Warehouse. So I've actually been in Dumbo for 15 years. And I also am now on the board of the Dumbo Business Improvement District. So I really care about the area a lot. And we at Photoville, we amplify visual storytellers and connect them to audiences. And we do a lot. Public art, community education. And I'm sorry if you can hear my 4-year-old in the background. I apologize. Up until February of this year, we actually had a gallery in Dumbo, but right before the pandemic, who knew? We decided that we were really doing so much public art that the gallery was kind of falling on the wayside. And as a very tiny mom and pop, like small nonprofit, it just didn't make sense anymore. But we've done, like Elizabeth said, we've done a lot of work. You can see the middle photo. We've done a lot of things on Washington Street in Dumbo, but we've done a lot of public art. So we are the Photoville Festival, which is gathering folks under the Brooklyn Bridge. We also have the fence. So you've probably seen every summer in Brooklyn Bridge Park, we've had 40 visual stories in the park, and we've now in 11 cities across North America. In a few weeks, we'll be installing in Atlanta and Durham and Denver. And again, we're very tiny. Just have to remind you about this. We also have a really robust education program. And it's actually led by Jasmine Chang, who is our deputy director. She's a Fort Greene resident and also the creator of Community Heroes, which I'll talk about in just a second. We do a lot of different public art, and Jasmine, with a few other colleagues, created this amazing celebration of community heroes, especially in Commodore Barry Park and Fort Greene Park. And it's really, really special. And, you know, she's one person and asked us if it could come under our umbrella that we can help give her support and resources. So we're really happy to be able to continue Community Heroes so it doesn't stop right there. And actually, she wanted me to throw this out there because we'll be announcing soon in connection with the Fort Greene Fling with Fort Greene Park and the Fort Greene Park Conservancy. They're going to be celebrating community heroes. So we'll be sending out, and I will put in the chat shortly, some information and some links. But we want you all to nominate heroes of the Fort Greene community. So I just wanted to do a quick shout out there. So let's talk about Photoville and the festival. And again, I apologize with, I don't know if you can hear, but it's a lot. So if you have been down to Brooklyn in the last 8 years, you've seen the shipping containers. Because we are so tiny, it wasn't the fancy containers that were in like DeKalb Market years ago. They're really crappy shipping containers, but it really was about democratizing the, you know, how we see art, how we share stories. And the way that we started with Photoville was part of the Dumbo Arts Festival in 2011. And then Regina Meyer said, look, I'm developing this park. We want you here. And so what started off with a few containers then ended up being so many. And for us, it's about celebrating visual storytellers. And we kind of strategized, and we invited folks from the New York Times, Time Magazine, Instagram, so National Geographic. So we had the big guns, but we had their photo departments, not their marketing departments. So we had their photo directors really being thoughtful about the kind of work they chose. And then we invited a lot of the colleges, high schoolers, independent curators, artists. And so it really was this kind of way of people may show up because they heard National Geographic, but they're walking away talking about that local Brooklyn photographer they've never heard of before. So earlier this year with the pandemic, we started talking to Brooklyn Bridge Park and was like, there's no way we can do the containers. And so we thought about dispersing throughout Brooklyn Bridge Park, but then we thought about, well, we should really be taking this out in throughout the whole city. It's our 10-year anniversary next year, and that was always a plan, but we thought, let's not wait, let's do it this year. So we reached out to Elizabeth at NYC Parks, and she was so amazing. And so we identified several parks throughout the 5 boroughs. And so we now have 63 outdoor exhibitions. We only have 1 exhibition left to install, which is in Harlem in later this week. And basically the idea is instead of 2 weeks, it's over 2.5 months. So people can come down whenever they want. They can, you know, quite a few people came down last weekend, this weekend that just passed, and then they're going to the Bronx next weekend, and then they're going to Staten Island the weekend after. So it was really about making sure people can do it on their time. And then we really have a robust daytime programming. So I wanted to share with you, this is Flex. So you can see Kennedy Carter, a rising emerging photographer from North Carolina, and you're all getting the sneak preview. She's actually the winner of our fence, the jury's choice. She's winning $5,000 grant. And this is the most beautiful series. And I highly recommend you check out her work. But this is all about creating these beautiful portraits of Black people. And she really wanted to showcase her community in a really great way. And we'll be working with Kennedy in the next year of showing this work all over the country. And so it's on Old Fulton Street. We invited a editor at the New York Times, Jim Estrin, to nominate 4 emerging photographers from all over the world that we should be looking at, and they're really amazing. I want to stay on. We also have 3 exhibitions on Washington Street. I have not taken photos. Our actual photographer took photos today and tomorrow, so I don't have those photos yet. But the wonderful thing about partnering with Nat Geo is that instead of showing the usual stuff that people think about National Geographic, it's usually very challenging work. So Wayne Lawrence, who's a Brooklyn photographer, we have his work, which is a world premiere of COVID survivors and family who've lost loved ones, and it's really powerful and very emotional. We also have a young photographer from the Philippines looking at redefining beauty from all over the world. And then another photographer who took photographs of a flamingo in the Bahamas called Bob. So very universal stories, and that's by our friends at Nat Geo. And then I just wanted to show you photos of what we've done in the park. And I really would love for all of you to, if you haven't yet, to come down at your own time, of course, wearing your masks. We keep stressing that. You can see that we're like on Pier 2. This is work by a really great photographer, Nina Robinson, on faith healers. This is Under the Bridge. And actually, Necessary Fiction, Debbie Cornwell lives in Brooklyn Heights, so she's a local photographer, amazing photographer. You can see just north of St. Anne's, Water Street. I took this yesterday. There was a lot of people around. On Dock Street, Single Mums by Choice, a really young photographer from Long Island, and an Indigenous photographer on Fulton Ferry Landing, really beautiful. And actually we had some Indigenous folks come by a few days ago and do a blessing, which was really lovely. Just kind of going, and we're also in Times Square. So Elias Williams, Bronx photographer, biked all around New York City during the pandemic, photographing graduates. So from 4-year-olds to high schoolers to college. We're in Queens, Astoria Park. We're in the Lower East Side. Here's another one in Brooklyn Bridge Park. We're in Jackson Heights, so we worked with the Queens Museum, and this is a collective of migrant women, and these are the ladies who are in these photos who crochet, and it's really beautiful. This has been very popular in Queens. And, you know, just down in Brooklyn Bridge Park again, some of the photographers, all Brooklyn. We've had a lot of love. It's been up for 4 days already. And you can go on our website, photoville.nyc, and this is the map here. And then we also have a lot of online sessions. I spent the whole weekend in the office on my computer. We had already had 11 sessions, all free. I highly recommend you check us out. And then we have our educator programs. And so we have a lot of Brooklyn schools and a lot of schools from this district, from CB2. So in the month of October, free virtual field trips where teenagers, so we're encouraging educators, but also parents, because we know there's a lot of young people being homeschooled right now. So you can log on, register, and they'll be meeting a lot of our artists and curators over the month of October. And we've also invited youth photo organizations here in New York. So we do this every year in person, but this year it'll be virtual. And then we also have our educator lab. So it's a free professional development series that we've been doing for years with educators, and this year it will be online. So please check us out on Photoville.com. Next year it will be our 10-year anniversary. So we really hope that we'll be expanding throughout Brooklyn even more, even beyond Brooklyn Bridge Park. And to be honest, we just ran out of money. We would have been in more places, but we ran out of time and money. And you probably heard I have a 4-year-old, so it's been one of those things. So this was a really very fast, believe me, I could have gone and said a lot more, but I just wanted to give you a taste of who we are, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Laura, that was fabulous, and you're right. It is a taste. It's a fabulous exhibit. And watching your presentation, I see there are at least a couple of places I didn't see, so I have more to go back. So first, do we have any questions for Laura from members of the committee? Suzanne, go ahead.
Less of a question and more of a comment. Hi, Laura. I'm Suzanne Quinn. I live at 1 Main Street.
I know your husband.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to make the connection, and for our committee, my husband Joe had the honor of being part of Photoville. Maybe well, time flies, 3 or 4 years ago. He has a photography project on gun violence. So just to say, as a comment, I feel like Dumbo is a neighborhood that has so much activity and people and things going on. And I think Photoville is something that everyone here in the Dumbo neighborhood feels really good about, that it really grew out of the neighborhood. And it's something people really embrace and can feel a part of. So wanted to add the resident perspective on that, and just really impressed with what you have done this year. It shows an incredible amount of leadership to take the opportunity to, of everything that's going on and expand in the way that can be useful and inspiring right now. So congratulations to all of you on that.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I just want to introduce Lenny. Do you want to say hello? Because unmute yourself and say hi, because we didn't get a chance to hear from you earlier. You have to unmute yourself. Okay.
I had a very hard time. I didn't get a link to the meeting, and I finally did get a link, and okay, so now I'm here. I am one of the members of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
You could just give us your name?
Leonard Levington. Lenny
Okay.
Levington.
Okay, great.
Okay, that's enough.
All right, thanks for being here. Do you have any questions for Laura?
I only caught the tail end of it. I wish I'd heard more.
Okay.
So
I'm sure you'll get out there to see the exhibit. Any other committee members have questions? Yeah. Well, I had a question. I was just, as I mentioned to you earlier, I was just so impressed at how quickly, what a large exhibit it is and how quickly you must have put it together. I just was wondering what your secret is, and to have great quality as well.
No, it's working. Look, we are so tiny. Look, I think we're struggling financially like everyone else, but we thought that if we didn't do anything this year, we would be, first of all, dead in the water, to be honest. Being very transparent with all of you, it's going to be a tough year coming up for a lot of nonprofits, a lot of cultural nonprofits. We also, so many of our partners, a lot of who are nonprofits themselves, do rely on Photoville as well to help them get their stories out there and to do these kind of things. And then we also thought, look, I have a kid, I have a dog, we're out in public spaces every day. We're in New York City, and so much of things that we love doing we can't do, but we are all outside. So we thought, why not show these stories? And there's some really extraordinary things out there. And, there is a lot of stuff connected to COVID, but we also thought, we're working with 8 middle and high school DOE teachers, schools, and showing the importance of, art education. And, thinking about the environment, we've got some things about the environment and looking at Black Lives Matter, and there is a lot of things there. And there's, health. I mean, I can go on and on. I'm preaching to the converted here. So we wanted to do that, but also we have an amazing team. And, we always have had this army of volunteers at Photoville. And we thought we have to be really responsible this year. So we had to say no to a lot of people and go, where should our money go to? So even things we actually, we had to make everything safe. We made our own, we actually made our own weights. We actually bought a whole bunch of buckets, and we got an actual concrete truck under the bridge last week. And our team just did that. We, are doing everything we can to make this work, but it is so special. And I was telling about, we were yesterday, I in between panels, I biked out to the park and was stalking people, looking at the photos and going, yeah, this is worth it. All the sleepless nights and the drama and the next 2 months of sleepless nights, it's worth seeing how people are connecting, and even some of the conversations that parents are having with their young people about certain things that are going on. We live in a 24-hour news cycle. So we're just seeing things and then we're on to the next. So there's nothing like seeing something in person and really drinking it in. So that was really long-winded, but I feel really, I care very deeply about what we do. I am so grateful for NYC Parks that we're really now figured out how to do this beyond Brooklyn Bridge Park. I've put in my email address, and so feel free to contact me, anyone, if you have ideas for not just this year, but next year. We'd love to work with you. We've been in Dumbo. Like I said, I've been working in Dumbo for 15 years. And I used to live in Fort Greene, but, we decided we wanted a family and we couldn't afford a 2-bedroom in Fort Greene. So, we had to move out, but I love the area.
Well, thank you I also wanted to mention Jasmine has been to our committee more than once.
She's amazing.
She's reached out to us about the local heroes. And again, I hope you'll come back.
Thank you.
In the future and let us know what we can do to help support you. Other obviously than getting the word out about it. Any other committee members have questions? If not, we would.
I have a question, but maybe a suggestion to Laura.
Sure.
What's happening now, and it's a whole new lifestyle that we didn't expect 6 months ago or whatever. Spike Lee did a little bit of a clip of what closed up. And I think there's another story to tell that Spike Lee doesn't tell in his story. And this whole new life that has developed that is sort of contrary to what Spike Lee presented, everything being closed up. And one of the things is just to walk around and see how Fort Greene Park is being used now during the COVID and all the activity that's occurring there. I think it's a story worthwhile telling for someone that's a good photographer and can do that. Also, if you just walk down DeKalb Avenue and see how many of the restaurants have really opened up, and it's like festival town during the days or late afternoon. And I think that's something that should be reported for posterity. Thought that we're living in a closed world, but it's really not. There is a festival life to it about eating outside in these temporary restaurants or eating areas outside. So I think it tells a story, because when I originally saw the Spike Lee thing, I was moved very much about it, and a lot of people were that I sent it to. But it was kind of a sad picture because it's New York closed, and this is the contrary. New York has been closed, but we're celebrating even with the closure. Yeah. We have a routine in our life. So I just said it. I don't know where I'm going with it, but see this good news.
It's a good suggestion, and we've been thinking a lot about how this time is being documented, and there's a lot of people doing that. But thank you. I'm going to think about that a lot more, actually. Yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. Is there any, do we have any board members who want to ask a question? John, you have to unmute yourself. If we can't hear you. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Hi.
Yes.
I'm John Dew. I'm a member of the community board.
Hi,
I'm
John.
also on the Brooklyn Bridge Park Conservancy Board for 10 or 11 years now. And I am also chair of the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District, which is comprised of the, I want to say the south side of the Fort Greene Public Housing Project and Fort Greene Park. We're always looking for opportunities for the Fort Greene public housing residents to get more involved in things outside of the Fort Greene public housing projects.
Yeah.
I've reached out to Brooklyn Bridge Park to come up with some programs that we could potentially introduce to the residents of Fort Greene. And I'm looking at this as another opportunity to reach out to some residents and get some of the kids involved in this.
Yeah.
I have seen your displays throughout from time to time in the park, and they are actually quite wonderful. So I would like to get all of your information and further explore those opportunities and that whole piece about photography in the community. Again, I'm looking at this as a potential another opportunity to get the community to become more proud of themselves. We have lots of issues in the community that can be solved if we come up with creative ways of interacting with the community. And this sounds like a wonderful opportunity. And you mentioned Spike Lee, all those kinds of folk. So if there's any thought that you can put to this, we should chat at some point.
Yeah.
And further explore this. And Barbara, just so you know, I'm on this to talk about Fort Greene Park at the very end of the meeting.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
John, I'll put my email here again, so you can email me directly. Would love to talk to you.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else at the meeting who would like to ask Laura a question? If you could unmute yourself and then okay. All right. I don't see any more questions. And I thank those who did ask questions. And again, Laura, it's just a wonderful, wonderful exhibit. And thank you so much for doing it and for coming today to tell us about it. And please, you must go see it. And it's, especially if it's a nice day, weather-wise out there, it's great. It's in the park, Brooklyn Bridge Park, a little bit. It's a lot in Dumbo. Right near St. Anne's and around the Time Out building, and there's a lot to think about when you see it, and it's really terrific.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm sorry I have to run because I can hear my kid, but I'm going to try and the next meeting, and please, anyone,
just great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, and thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks,
We
Elizabeth.
appreciate that. All right, we're going to have our next presentation. I see Ian. Is Casey with you, or are you solo tonight? You have to unmute. You have to unmute.
Sorry, I think.
Okay, so before we turn it over to you, as you know, Suzanne and I visited Golconda Skate Park, which is not far from Commodore Barry and is right near the Navy Yard Boys and Girls Club. This is a wonderful place, the skateboard. People really enjoy it. It's used all year round. As my committee members may recall, when we were talking in June about the district needs statement, we added there the goal to winterize the bathrooms in the park because it is used all year round. And so we had asked Ian, who is from the New York City Skateboard Coalition, to come and talk to us about the park. If you have any interest in skateboarding, this is the place you want to be. And so, Ian, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Maybe you can tell us how the group came together,
Well,
and what you do for the park.
Well,
The floor is yours.
We cover across multiple skate parks across the 5 boroughs of New York City, and we're very grateful to be involved with Golconda Skate Park. And I'd just like to say, we really appreciate the community boards of New York and the volunteer work you all do, the good work of the community boards, and it's a really great thing you guys do. So I just want to say that. I apologize, it's just me tonight, and unfortunately I don't have a presentation quite as nice as the previous one or anything, but I'll give you a little outline on some of the work we do. We've found that the problem in skate parks is keeping them clean. The skate surfaces get a little dirty sometimes. I know that it's difficult to skate, and we can't rely on Parks Department to always come around. So one thing we've found is cleaning equipment at the skate park. It works pretty well because the kids just take up a broom and they have to. So we've been working with the same out at Golconda Skate Park.
Mr. Clarke?
With Hi, can you hear
seem
me?
to be going in and out. You seem to be going in and out.
I'm so
you
sorry.
You have a warning on your there's a connection problem.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bad.
That's okay. Maybe we could just proceed a little bit.
Can you hear me at all? Or?
Yeah, sometimes you're okay. So maybe just keep trying.
I'll try. Thank you for your patience. Having our own cleaning equipment at the skate park is very helpful because the kids just take up a broom and clean the park as needed. And we're really grateful for New York City Parks Department working with, Partnership for Parks. And we've since established a job box or a large mailbox at Golconda Skate Park where we keep cleaning equipment. And it's worked out pretty good. And we're trying to get this at more skate parks at the moment. So we've kind of gone off that a little bit at the moment. We're focusing on voter registration at the skate parks at the moment. In these coming weeks, that's really been our focus to get the young people, to get the skaters who are of age to register to vote. That's really our focus at the moment. So we've kind of stepped away from the skate park cleanups. But skateboarding is great activity. You'll see I'm no kid, but I enjoy skateboarding. And if you go to the skate parks in New York, there are people from ages 6 to 60. It's quite a, oh, that's great. You got some pictures here of Golconda. Thank you. That's really great. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we're so we're focusing on the voter registration at the moment. The couple of things that needs, as you mentioned earlier, that there are two particular issues at Golconda Skate Park, current issues. we're actually quite fortunate having the bathrooms there, but unfortunately they're only 6 months of the year. So if they were, winterized, or if they could be open throughout the winter, so there wasn't a freeze problem, that would be really great. And I see the mouse is highlighting the bathrooms here. It's a terrific facility there. It's really great. But having the bathrooms there would be really good. It's actually, strange enough, it's particularly important because skateboarding is a physical activity, and you need to hydrate, of course. You need to drink water, and having a bathroom there is good because you make sure you just keep drinking. You don't mind if you have to run to the bathroom. So it's kind of important to have a bathroom facilities at a skate park, at a place where you're doing physical activity. We have another issue there that we gave it some attention. We didn't really get much of a result on this. It's the bridge that runs overhead. There is the highway that runs above the skate park, and that particular highway, it has you can see the decks from these pictures, the yellow steel beams above the skate park, and there is actually a drainage there. The water from the road above is carried away by drainage pipes. That there are large drainage pipes, probably about 1 foot in diameter, if not larger, large steel drainage pipes overhead that carry the rainwater off of the bridge. And those pipes leak so badly. So when you get a heavy rain, that the rain falls onto the skate park, and not only does the water come down, it also brings the sludge down from the road above. It brings like rubber and oil. I'm not sure what it is. It's kind of gross. It's dark and sticky, and it kind of messes up the park a bit. So if we could have that sealed up, that would be really good. I think it's quite a big job, though. I see and it's a DOT issue from what I understand. It's not a parks issue. It's the bridge that's the problem, not the park at all. Yeah, so that's kind of what we do there at Golconda. We do stuff at other skate parks. This picture here is pretty good, actually. You can see we lost it there. Sorry, there you can see the drain pipe very clearly. You can see how big that drain pipe is, the amount of water, the amount of volume of the water that's designed for, and the water comes down that drain pipe, and it should exit at the bottom there. You can see the opening where the drain pipe meets the ground. Virtually no water comes out of that bottom because it all leaks out before it gets to the bottom. There's a hell of a volume of water that leaks from the joints above, and it's literally quite a waterfall that comes out. And again, the water's not so much of a problem because it runs off, it dries, but it's all the sludge that it brings down with it, and it just, we have to scrape it off with a shovel, and it's it's just a problem. So that would be great if those pipes were connected, and I guess the gaskets that go in there are something that should be correctly installed, and it would work fine. But it's a really nice facility. We're very grateful to have this. We're also fully aware that in this time of financial difficulties with the city, funds are very tight at the moment. So we're just very grateful to have the skate park at all. This picture here you can see on our left with the group. This is one of our cleanup days. So we did a cleanup at the skate park that particular day. A lot of people came out, and this is Brooklyn Skate Garden. We did some work with the Brooklyn Skate Garden, and that was, there we go. And there's Commissioner Mahar. You can see Commissioner Mahar there with his sunglasses on. That's him. And I'm there just to the Commissioner Mahar's right, like 4 people to the right, with my beanie on, the black beanie on. Yeah, so that was a good day. And then just a little thing about the skateboard community. It's a really great community in New York. One of the things I've discovered, it's really interesting. We've been doing this voter registration at different skate parks in New York, mostly in Brooklyn, and including Golconda. And it's really great to find most of the skateboarders are already registered to vote. You know, which is a nice surprise. So it's kind of, it's an interesting community. So I think that's everything I thought of covering. I'm not sure if you have any questions at all, or, and again, thank you very much for your interest in the skate park itself.
Ian, thank you. You started talking a little bit about something that I was going to ask you about, the skateboard community there, because I know you get a lot of people who come there on a regular basis. I know when we were there, you know, there are kids there with their parents, and so it really appeals to people of all ages.
Right.
And do you do any training there, any lessons or anything?
Well, Casey, who unfortunately is not with us tonight, he does. He teaches lessons there. There's a few skaters that teach lessons, and these are, you know, so some of the kids like to be given some leads and shown how to do things. Some of the kids just learn it for themselves. They just watch what everyone else is doing and they figure it out for themselves. So.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to members of the committee if you have some questions for Ian or any interest in doing some skateboarding.
It's never too late.
I'd just like to make a comment if I can. Once Candace had her hand up, I saw.
You can go first, Lenny.
Okay. Well, I think I'm on mute again.
No, no, now you're on mute. You were okay before. Okay, there you go.
Okay, never mind. We don't live too far from there, my wife and I. And I think Thursday night we took a walk down. We just happened to pass it. And it says, wow, look at this. This is a really nice place. I mean, we didn't know, or I didn't really know it was a skateboard park there until I walked down Gold Street a little bit before I would have made a turn off the highway to get back to where we live. But it looked very nice. There were a lot of kids, a lot of older people there. I did see a guy in his 30s, maybe 40s, that was instructing a 6 or 7-year-old kid. And I was very impressed with it. And this drainage problem that you were talking about, Ian, struck me interesting because my wife is an architect and she tells me about a lot of her projects. And I don't know if they do any DOT projects through her office, but I do know they do a lot of sanitation, Department of Sanitation projects. And it strikes me as these are projects that our firm does, other firms, architectural firms, they go through with engineering and all that. So whatever has to be done architecturally and engineering wise is not an undoable thing from what I can tell. My limited perspective of seeing what my wife's company does. I guess I'm just saying that as a pep talk almost about it, because that is, to me, looked like a huge problem, but it looked like a fixable problem. So I don't know if that helps by saying the DOT needs to look into it and go through the channels of an architect and an engineering firm. But that's all I have to add here.
Okay. Candace, did you have a question?
Yes, so my question is, how many, I guess, current members do you have of the Skateboard Coalition? And like, how does one become a member of the coalition?
Good question.
Well, you can email us. We've got a very small membership. We're not about so much having a large membership. We're more about having a few people that are very active. And that's kind of how we get things done. As you probably testify, a lot of guys are, you know, you're doers in the community. you're out there doing stuff, which is incredible. And as I'm sure you can all testify, it's usually one or two people that do all the heavy lifting, right? And that's kind of how we, we gather people together for events, which are really good. But on the back end, it's just a few of us that are doing most of it. But you're very welcome. My email is up here, I think, and our website as well. And please feel free to reach out. We'd love to have any help at all. And our main activities are really, we advocate for skate parks in New York, Golconda being one of them. And also we put on events. We put on skateboarding events. And we also, try to maintain good relationships with Parks Department. And we're very grateful to Commissioner Mayhar as well. I should mention that. Commissioner Mayhar is the best. He's been so good to us. Terrific guy, really great guy. So we're very grateful to Commissioner Mayhar and the community boards as well, of course.
Candace, did you have something else? Sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying thank you.
Oh, okay, great.
Barbara,
yeah, Andrew?
Just a comment or two. Golconda Park used to be nothing else but like a storage place, parking facility, and sort of a dump where the Department of Transportation used to keep their vehicles and other equipment. It is Mr. Marr that suggested to them as soon as they were ready to clean it up, that they did as much as possible. And that park was created because you couldn't have another park there, but skateboarding isn't affected by the roadway upstairs. However, it's more that could possibly talk to DOT. Hey guys, come in and finish up the dirty work that we're getting from you now, because he worked with them to get this park fixed up. So he probably has a good relationship with the people that worked with him before to move out of there, create the skateboarding park. The one other thing that I wanted to mention is, I don't know if you guys have any influence at all, but Fort Greene Park around the monument itself was having a lot of skateboarders just using the skateboarding all around that sort of that memorial area of the in Fort Greene Park. And there was always a question where somebody could beg if somebody could get a hold and talk to the skateboarders there that are doing it improperly, to get them to leave there or do it more correctly, so they're not creating a hazard for the people that are enjoying the park. Because they're skateboarding, they're all over the place using a facility that's supposed to be a memorial.
Right. Yeah, we're very interesting points there. Your first point about the bridge and the DOT, certainly, we think skateboard parks are really a perfect fit underneath a bridge. It's perfect because oftentimes there's nothing else there than just a car park, and it provides this natural shelter as well, which is perfect as well. It's from sunlight, from from the weather and everything. So the bridges and skate parks are actually a really great mix that a lot of cities in America have found this. In New York, we tend not to do that. Golconda is the exception, but we do think there's a lot of unused space under bridges that could be utilized in New York, especially in Brooklyn. That would be perfect. To your second point about the monuments in Fort Greene, this is an issue, because the monuments in New York are often made out of some beautiful exotic stonework, and they do get used by the skaters, because unfortunately when these things were built, they were actually unwittingly built to be the perfect skateboard ledge, and they're built out of these fancy stonework, so they're kind of like they really are, as we say in the skateboard world, that they're a perfect spot. They're really great. So but better skate parks kind of draw the skaters away from these places. But that is right across the city, and I do speak up on that to the skaters that we should try not to use these monuments as much.
The way I was
thank you.
Possibly use the skateboarders from park, invite them to work with the kids at Golconda and maybe teach them. You just can't go in there and tell them that you're not supposed to be skateboarding at the monument in Fort Greene Park. You know, you're just not going to win that battle. But inviting them to go work with the kids out at Golconda, you know, that might just be a draw to some of the kids that are there and say, you know what, maybe I'll give the kids their chance and teach them something. That's like, I wish you would someday, again, this might not be the issue anymore, but all around Astor Place, you know, the skateboarders in and around Astor Place in New York City, in Manhattan, it was like a disaster. They were very unsafe and they were very dangerous to the pedestrians. I don't know what's going on now with the pandemic because there were less in the street. But I think the way to do that is to reach out positively to the people that are doing the negative. That's all
Andrew, I think that's a good idea to be positive. You know, we also have a lot of skateboarders where Columbus Park meets Borough Hall. And that area is very inviting for the reasons you were talking about. But I liked your idea about trying to put a positive spin on it.
It's the only way you'll get them.
Right. So is there anyone from the community board who has a question for Ian?
I don't have a question. I do have a suggestion, which is that DOT, as we all know, is always loaded with projects. The issue becomes, how do you get them to prioritize? A suggestion is that if you can take pictures of the condition on the roadway when the effluence has leaked on, include that as part of your outreach to DOT, as well as if you have identified spots in that pipe that actually leak before it gets to the drain. That would be a motivating factor, would also make it easier to explain to the elected officials, for example, because they sometimes are asked to contribute to some of these projects. So just a way of getting people's attention is to be able to present the condition when you're talking about it.
You know, I was just, that made me think of something else when the participatory budgeting, you know, when that comes around, Ian, maybe you should put in suggestions there related to the park. And that might be a way to get some things funded. So is there anyone who's not on the community board who has a question for Ian? Excuse me. All right, hearing no questions then, or comments, I think, Ian, we're going to thank you. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. And I hope people attending tonight, if you haven't been over to the skate park, you should go check it out. Even if you're not a skater, you might become interested, but it's fun to watch others do it. And it's great that there is this group and there are a group of dedicated skateboarders who use it and use it year round. So,
Barbara, can I roller skate there too? Just kidding.
You have to ask Ian. I don't know. That's like, well, at any rate, so that brings us to the chairperson's report. I did want to, I had some notes about the city parks, but I can't find my notes. But as you know, if you looked at our minutes from June 15th, it was all about what was not open. And now, gratefully, the parks are open. Of course, everyone is asked to wear a mask. And I think we've talked about the problem with garbage from time to time in the parks. So if you can, you know, I think it's good if you can take your garbage with you or make sure it goes into a garbage basket in the parks. I think the parks are more important than ever right now. And I think we're fast approaching the time of year when it may not everyone may want to be in the park because of the weather, but you know, if you bundle up, you can still get to the parks, and it's great to have them open rather than having that list of what was closed. I think indoor pools are not open. I think some outdoor pools are open. I don't know if they still are, but they were. And as we know, events are kind of limited at the moment. Then I just, for informational purposes, yesterday, Eric Adams coordinated a memorial to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg there, right outside of Borough Hall. It was very moving. There were a number of speakers, a very diverse group of speakers. The president of the Women's Bar Association, Chuck Schumer, spoke briefly. Joanne Simon spoke. Brett Kavanaugh spoke, and the public advocate, and a number of other people, and some music was played. It was really quite something. And a point was made by one of the speakers in a very, well, I guess Eric Adams also talked about it, that I don't know what happened. It was about a little over a year ago. There was a big movement on to name the municipal building in honor of Justice Ginsburg, and I don't know what happened to that, but clearly Eric Adams said it should happen this week, and the mayor should move forward on it. And I think that would be a great idea. Brooklyn, the dean of Brooklyn Law School mentioned that they are going to name a professorship in her honor, and I don't know about anybody else, but I spent a lot of time this weekend crying. And there's this Jewish expression when someone dies that say, "May their memory be a blessing." Well, I saw somebody's email today that said, "May her memory be a revolution." So I just wanted to share that with you. And certainly, you know, one reason everybody here loves Ruth Bader Ginsburg is that she grew up in Brooklyn. So we certainly claim her as our own. I also wanted to mention, if you haven't filled out the census, please do, or if you know anyone who hasn't, it's so important. And with that, I will turn it over. Does anybody have any other business to discuss at tonight's meeting? One other thing I forgot. As usual, please contact Andrew, myself, and Taya if you have suggestions for future meetings. If there's a park we haven't focused on or a playground you think it's time for us to talk about, or any other issues or issues that you see going on. And so then other business, any other business here, and then we'll get to community forum, John. Lenny, yeah.
Yeah,
And then Suzanne.
I was late to the meeting. I don't know if you mentioned, I sent you an email, Barbara, about a rat problem.
Right, which we referred to the district office, and they're following up on it.
Okay.
Right. I think that was in Commodore Barry, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Suzanne?
Yeah, one announcement and just two administrative questions. I was made aware of a hearing, a city council hearing this week on sort of an adjacent area. The Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste holding their hearing on street and sidewalk cleanliness. So that's happening on the 24th, which I guess is Thursday, at 1 o'clock if folks are interested in participating remotely. So I wanted to mention that. And then from an administrative perspective, Taya, I don't know if you'll have the answer for this tonight, but are we in motion to get the committee minutes up on the website? Or Barbara, from an executive committee perspective, if that's been discussed.
Suzanne, are you asking about the archive?
Yeah, well, yes, and even the more recent minutes, from last.
Yep. So we're transitioning to the public Google Drive, and the goal is to have, I think we have to go back 7 years.
Wow.
The office
Wow.
has data for probably 10 years. It's actually a project that I'm working on right now. If you go,
That's a big job.
well, it's not big so much as a little bit tedious.
Mhm.
If you go to this is the easy link for the new public drive. So if you go there, you'll see that 2020 is up so far, and we're just going to work backwards chronologically. So we've got 2020 done. We just started on 2019, but hopefully by the end of the year, everything that we have at the office will be up.
And will the link to the public Google Drive be accessible via the website?
Yes.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
that's actually a great question. So this is also in tandem with, that's the small project. The middle project is updating the website for the first time in many years. Actually, Suzanne, your name came up because Mr. Singletary would like to convene a few folks, and actually, Barbara, I think you as well, that have had comments about the website updates in the past.
We both professionally oversee websites.
I
So,
don't
yeah.
actually do
So,
that. I work with the person who does.
Larger digital strategy was addressed at the last general meeting. The budget and the staffing is going to be discussed at the finance and personnel meeting later this week. And the overall website plan, I think, will be brought up at the next executive committee meeting, which is next week, I believe. So we're all on the same page.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to help, and I have good availability right now. So just give me a shout on that. And then Barbara, just in terms of members for this committee, because you mentioned that Quinn will be rolling off,
right?
Or has rolled off. Where are we at? And should we seek new? He was a public member, right?
I'm always encouraging people to become public members. It's a little easier, I think, when you see people in person. You introduce yourself and say, well, come back again. If you attend 3 meetings, it's a good chance you could become a public member. But if anyone, not just you on the committee, knows someone, I think Dwight dragged Jennifer. I think that's how she got here. And, if you know anyone who might be interested, please have them come to the meetings. And we certainly could use some more members. And, if anyone knows anyone, invite them. Third Monday of the month.
About, even from the communications perspective, Taya, because I knew, that has always been my sense from you, Barbara. It was just interesting for me to learn that not all the committees, just for there's more board members on other committees, so they don't have the vacancies as much. But on our committee, just a confirmation that we do have the vacancies and the opportunity for people to get involved and become public members. So I think it would be great for us to do some outreach and get some fresh park users.
Right. Well, that was at the general meeting, right? Where Taya, you did that presentation on, so we're going to be hitting at some point social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a perfect place to promote something like that.
Yeah, it would be.
And on the website. And on the website, certainly. So
I also have been trying to remind all of the committees that there's the public membership is a bit ad hoc, but there is actually an official committee seat. One of the appointments from Lori Kumbo's office is currently vacant. So in addition to always having room for more public members, there is an official vacancy in the Kumbo lane as well.
Right.
For the board.
For the board.
Right. So, okay. Anybody else have any other business from committee members? Okay. So we're going to open it up to community forum. I know, John, you're eager to speak. Is there anyone else who wants to speak during community forum? We give you a few minutes. Anyone who's attending the meeting who wants to speak. All right. All right, John, you have the floor.
I'm not eager. I'm going to speak anyway. As I said earlier, the Myrtle Avenue side of Fort Greene Park is in the Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District. The bid provides the maintenance for a great portion of that part of the park, in addition to whatever the park provides. The sanitation pickup, though, has been a problem. It might be in the process of being corrected, but sanitation had decreased the number of pickups of the garbage bins from, I think, like 6 weeks down to 3. So that created an immediate problem on the avenue, in addition to a rat problem, which became quite obvious. So we are monitoring that. There's not much that we can do directly to excite sanitation to return to their normal pickup route, but we do understand that some of these services are being restored. So that would be helpful, but that has been very contributory to the rat problem.
John, with the hearing on Thursday, it seems like the hearing on Thursday may directly, maybe an opportunity to voice that publicly to the larger sanitation crew.
Okay. The other issue, Irene, is the renovation of the Fort Greene Park. Do you have an update on that? And do you have any information on the apparent lawsuit that I hear is being discussed about the bathroom not being included in the upgrade of the park?
John, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of what you said.
Do you have an update on the lawsuit that has prevented the Myrtle Avenue side of the park from being upgraded?
I was looking into that recently, and I don't have a definitive answer right now, but I will get one. And we'll get the word out on that, because you're not the first person. I forget how this came up a few weeks ago.
I asked about that too.
You, Andrew?
But the whole thing is that the Parks Department can't talk about it because it's illegal.
No, we're not going to ask the Parks Department about it. We'll find out about it some other way, see where it is. My guess is, the courts have been open throughout the pandemic, but not completely functional. So that may have contribute. It may kind of be on hold, but I don't know. But I will look into it and try to, get word to the committee and you, John, because I know your email address. I'm very familiar with it.
You should be. You could say it in your sleep, Barbara.
You keep me posted.
The one thing is that maybe.
And the other question was the restroom that is in the lower level of the park.
As to whether or not that's going to be subject to a lawsuit to compel them to include that.
I'm not suggesting that it's going to be. I'm hearing rumblings, because you hear those kinds of things in the community. You can't necessarily run with it. But as I understood, it was not included in the current renovation project. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember any discussion about that.
Okay.
Bathrooms are usually the last thing they focus on.
Right, but if it's not included in the renovation, it's not even in the pipeline. So
Right.
I guess maybe you could add.
It was not.
We do. Kevin, are you still there? Kevin has been maybe Kevin, should we turn this over to you for a minute? You want to give us a quick update based on what you know?
Sure. My name is Kevin Duggan. I'm a reporter with the Brooklyn paper. I wrote about the Fort Greene Park renovation. What's the date? It was like last week. Essentially, Parks withdrew an appeal against a judge's order, which was stalling the development. That happened, I think, late July. They withdrew an appeal. So they basically, Parks has to prove to this state judge how their renovation is basically just regular maintenance, which they're trying to say it's just regular maintenance so they can get around going through an environmental review. And they have not told me how they're going to adapt to this. So they haven't told me how they're going to prove that it's just regular routine maintenance. So that's where we're at right now. I essentially tried to find out more, but they wouldn't find out. But I know that a bunch of locals, including Fort Greene Association, I think, or Friends of Fort Greene Park, trying to get all the documents they can from the city on this via like Freedom of Information and other public access to documents. So it's not a lot of updates, but you know, I am writing about it, and I know these people are trying to find out more as well through other ways. If that helps.
Well, Kevin, I really appreciate your sharing that information. Andrew, you had a question?
I had a question, but we'll never. The Parks Department cannot talk about it now. The Fort Greene Conservancy, I don't think they're a part of that lawsuit. Answers from them at our next meeting. Maybe they could give us just a reading, an unofficial reading. And yes, John, the bathrooms were not included in that, in the planning of the Fort Greene renovation.
It was not, okay.
It's not.
So that, I'm not suggesting that there will be a lawsuit, but clearly it's an issue that's floating around out there that you should be aware of.
Any other requests to speak at the community forum this evening?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
To my colleagues. So in the parks, is the sanitation in general overseen by sanitation or parks?
Parks. Has their own sanitation.
What, Andrew?
Parks has their own sanitation. They collect the garbage in the parks.
Okay.
Locations where they deposit the sanitation outside the park. I don't know where it is on Myrtle Avenue, but it's very visible on the DeKalb Avenue side. They actually sort of built like a bin around that. It looks like the part of the wall. I cannot speak about this. That might be diverted to the north side of the park. And then park sanitation comes in and picks up from that bin.
Okay, so it's a little, yeah, because it's the article that you've shared, Taya. It's like sanitation is sort of anchoring to garbage in the parks with their cuts, so it confused me. So it sounds like they do pick up from the parks after. No, they don't even pick up from parks, so it's confusing.
Parks Department has their own sanitation crew.
Right.
They have their own sanitation trucks.
Okay.
Right. I think Marty has talked about that at our committee over time. Yeah. And I think the big thing now will be leaves. In addition to garbage. So, yeah. All right. Anything else before we move towards adjournment? I just wanted to reiterate, if you have any suggestions for meetings, topics, please let us know. We're always looking for those. And, enjoy the parks while it's still, the weather is still conducive. As you learned tonight, you can go skateboarding 12 months a year. So if you want to be out and about, you might consider that as something. I think Kevin's smiling. Maybe he's going to do it. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Anyone opposed? No. Okay. All right. We will see you next month. And
Thanks,
thank
Barbara.
you.
Thanks, Taya.
Hey, thank
Bye.
you for everything. Everybody have a good night.